Have you ever stopped to wonder why something as simple as popcorn can feel like a tiny miracle right in your own kitchen? You place a handful of kernels into a pot or a microwave, and within minutes, an ordinary, hard little seed transforms into a fluffy, almost weightless puff of life. It seems trivial at first, yet when you pay close attention, what you're witnessing is nothing short of a miniature symphony of physics and timing, a performance that Richard Feynman would have smiled at, because it reveals the profound truth that nature's rules are always operating beneath the surface of our everyday lives, waiting for our curiosity to catch up. Every kernel is a tiny pressure chamber, a universe in miniature, holding water trapped inside a hardened shell, quietly building tension as it warms. The heat excites the water molecules, making them jitter and jump, increasing the pressure inside, and yet, for a long while, nothing happens. We assume that change must be loud and obvious, but the truth is, change is often invisible, slow, incremental, and imperceptible until it reaches a critical point. Life operates in much the same way. We work, we plan, we prepare, and yet success or transformation rarely announces itself gradually. Most of the time, it is quietly brewing, like water in a kernel, building energy in the background until the precise moment when the external pressure meets the internal force, and everything bursts open. The lesson is simple but profound. Patience and persistence matter more than visible progress. Just as the kernels do not pop all at once, your efforts may not yield immediate results, but that does not mean they are wasted. The invisible accumulation of knowledge, experience, resilience, and skill is happening inside you, often unnoticed, as molecules of potential collide and create tension, waiting for the perfect conditions to release. And when that moment comes, when the world finally sees the result of your preparation, it can feel sudden, explosive, and magical. But the truth is, the explosion is only possible because of the unseen work that came before it. Curiosity, observation, experimentation, and relentless questioning, the same traits Richard Feynman admired and embodied, are your kernels. Each idea you explore, each skill you hone, each mistake you analyze adds pressure, builds energy, and makes you more prepared for the breakthrough moment. And just like in a pot of popcorn, some kernels may never pop. Some seeds, for reasons beyond our understanding, will remain quiet, unyielding. But that does not diminish the power of the ones that do. In fact, it highlights a vital truth about life. The world rewards those who remain attentive, who keep learning, and who allow the invisible processes to unfold patiently. The magic of transformation is not in the speed, not in the noise, but in the consistent accumulation of effort, the quiet building of potential energy, and the courage to be present for the moment when everything finally bursts open. Understanding this tiny physics explosion teaches more than culinary science. It teaches a philosophy of life, a mindset of wonder, patience, and recognition that every small action contributes to a larger outcome far greater than we can often see. Now, imagine standing at the edge of possibility, the moment just before a kernel finally pops, when the pressure is almost unbearable, but nothing yet is broken through. That fraction of time, that tiny pause between preparation and explosion, is where suspense lives, and it is where life often tests us most. We tend to want immediate results, to see proof that our effort matters, but the universe is patient, and its lessons are subtle. In that stillness, the invisible forces inside you are working, molecules of experience and understanding vibrating with potential, just as the water inside each kernel fights against the hard shell that confines it. There is tension, almost unbearable tension, and it is precisely that tension that gives rise to transformation. Richard Feynman often spoke about the beauty of understanding how things work, the thrill of peering into hidden mechanisms, and this is no different. When you examine your own life, your dreams, or your goals, you will discover that the suspense, the period when nothing seems to happen, is not a void, it is a crucible. This is where your character is forged, where the tiny, unseen pressures accumulate until they demand release. Think about the last time you worked on something tirelessly with dedication, and yet felt no progress. That is not failure. That is potential energy gathering, waiting for the precise moment to transform into kinetic energy, to explode into achievement and clarity. It is uncomfortable, yes, because nature does not reward the impatient, but this discomfort is a signal, not a warning. The kernel cannot pop without the heat. You cannot achieve breakthrough without tension. And yet, suspense is rarely acknowledged in modern life. We scroll, we compare, we demand instant gratification, and we forget that waiting is part of creation. It is in the pause, the hidden resistance, the invisible buildup, that mastery is quietly taking shape. Some kernels will crack slightly and collapse prematurely, but others, resilient and perfectly timed, burst open with power and elegance, showing us that timing and preparation are inseparable from success. Life works in the same way. Every challenge, every moment of frustration, every period where the world seems silent and unyielding is a layer of pressure building inside you. If you recognize it, embrace it, and persist, your moment will arrive, and it will feel sudden and astonishing, but it is only sudden to the outside observer. You will know deep down that the energy was always there, that your effort was never wasted, that the suspense was never meaningless. Richard Feynman reminds us that understanding the principles behind phenomena is not just intellectual satisfaction, it is empowerment. When you understand why the kernel pops, you see that the process itself, the forces at work, the patience required, is just as important as the outcome. Life operates under the same laws. The suspense, the struggle, the tension between potential and release is not your enemy. It is your teacher. And when the pop finally comes, when your preparation and persistence meet the perfect conditions, it is more than victory, it is a revelation. You realize that the invisible, painstaking work, the unseen accumulation of energy and knowledge, was the most important part all along. The explosion is not the end. It is the proof of what has been quietly unfolding beneath the surface all this time. A reminder that patience, curiosity, and resilience create power far beyond what immediate appearances suggest. And so, when the first kernel finally pops, releasing its stored energy in a sudden, magnificent burst, you are reminded that transformation is rarely gentle. The moment may seem instantaneous, but it is the result of countless invisible processes that preceded it, the hidden work of heat, pressure, and persistence. Life operates in exactly the same way. Your progress, your growth, your breakthroughs are rarely immediate or visible to anyone else. Often, the world sees only the explosion, the dazzling result, without understanding the preparation that made it possible. Richard Feynman understood this better than most. He celebrated the joy of discovery and the beauty of understanding the hidden mechanics of the world, reminding us that the universe is full of patterns waiting to be revealed. Each of us, in our own way, carries kernels inside ourselves, ideas, dreams, passions, and talents that require warmth, pressure, and time to reach their full potential. You may feel impatient when your own life seems stagnant, when your efforts do not appear to yield results, or when you compare yourself to others who seem to be popping ahead. But remember that the kernels that pop first are not necessarily the ones that are most prepared or most substantial. Timing and conditions matter more than speed. The unseen work, the late nights, the failures, the quiet persistence, is where the real power accumulates. When you begin to understand this, you start to notice the subtle ways your life is building energy, even in moments of struggle or uncertainty. Every challenge you face, every obstacle you overcome, every lesson learned quietly adds to the internal pressure that is preparing you for your own breakthrough. There is a certain beauty in this process, a poetic symmetry between the physical world and the human experience. Just as the kernel must withstand the heat and pressure to become popcorn, you must endure challenges, embrace learning, and allow yourself to be shaped by experience to reach your true potential. The suspense, the tension, the discomfort of waiting, all of it is necessary, all of it meaningful, and all of it a prelude to the extraordinary transformation that will come if you persist. And when your time arrives, the release will feel both sudden and inevitable, a culmination of effort that you may have doubted, ignored, or overlooked. It is then that you realize the quiet accumulation of energy, the patience, the curiosity, the persistence, is the secret of all remarkable change. You begin to appreciate that nothing worthwhile happens without preparation, and nothing transformative can occur without pressure. The pop of the kernel is not just a culinary trick. It is a reminder that every moment of unseen effort is valuable, that potential is real, and that persistence is the ultimate catalyst for achievement. So embrace the process, delight in the hidden workings, and trust that your own internal forces are aligning for the moment when you, too, will burst forth with brilliance. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.